Mia had never expected that an ordinary evening could turn into something so unforgettable. She had been living in her husband's family home for a few months now, adjusting to the new rhythms of life and the quiet tensions of blending families. Her husband, Daniel, was away on a work trip, leaving her alone with the house filled with echoes of memories, laughter, and sometimes loneliness. Mia had always appreciated her quiet moments, but tonight, the emptiness felt heavier. Earlier in the day, she had been tidying the living room, humming softly to herself when there was a knock at the door. It was Mark, Daniel's close friend who often visited during gatherings. He had always been kind, easy to talk to, and genuinely considerate. Mia had known him for years, though she had never spent much one-on-one time with him. Tonight, however, his visit was unplanned. "Hey, Mia," Mark said, his voice calm and friendly. "I heard Daniel wouldn't be home for the evening. Thought I'd check if you needed anything groceries, a ride, or just some company." Mia smiled politely, a little flustered by the unexpected company. "Oh, that's thoughtful of you. I was just organizing some things. But sure, some company would be nice." She hadn't realized how lonely she had felt until the offer lifted a small weight off her shoulders. They spent the first few minutes chatting casually, talking about everyday things: the garden, a new recipe Mia had tried, and an upcoming community event. There was a warmth to their conversation that was comforting. Mark had a way of listening intently, not rushing the conversation, making her feel that her thoughts mattered. It was rare to feel such ease with someone. And Mia found herself relaxing more than she had expected. As the evening deepened, the air between them subtly shifted. It wasn't romantic in an inappropriate way, but it carried a gentle tension, the kind that comes from shared confidences and quiet understanding. They moved to the living room, where the soft glow of lamps created a cozy atmosphere. Outside, the wind rustled through the trees, punctuating the calm with the soft whispers of nature. Mia laughed at one of Mark's observations about the garden, and he returned her smile with a subtle warmth that made her feel unexpectedly seen. He wasn't flirting, at least, not in any intentional, inappropriate way, but there was a closeness in their friendship that carried unspoken depth. For Mia, who had felt the absence of emotional connection lately, this attention was both refreshing and disarming. After a while, they moved into the kitchen to prepare some tea. Mia had always enjoyed small domestic rituals, and making tea together felt unexpectedly intimate in the best way. They moved around each other with easy coordination, the kind that comes from familiarity and comfort. The tea, warm and fragrant, became a companion to their quiet conversation, carrying with it the soft comfort of the moment. Mark asked gently about her feelings living in a new environment. It must be different adjusting to the house, to the routines. "How have you been coping?" Mia paused, thinking about the months of trying to balance her own life with the expectations of her new surroundings. "It's challenging at times," she admitted, her voice soft. "I feel like I'm learning a lot about patience, about giving people space, and about myself." Mark nodded, listening intently, his eyes calm and understanding. "Sometimes the hardest part is feeling like you have to hold everything together alone. It's okay to lean on someone for support, even if it's just for a little while." His words resonated deeply with Mia. She realized she had been carrying more than she should, trying to appear composed while quietly longing for someone to share her thoughts with. There was no romantic intention, no crossing boundaries, just a moment of human connection, honest and heartfelt. They returned to the living room, tea in hand, and settled into the comfortable silence that had grown between them. Mia reflected on how different tonight felt from ordinary evenings. She had spent so much time alone, yet this moment, simple as it was, felt profound. The presence of someone who genuinely listened, who offered support without judgment, was a gift she hadn't realized she was craving. Suddenly, there was a loud creak from upstairs, the sound of the old house settling. Both of them looked up instinctively, sharing a quiet laugh. "This house has a mind of its own," Mark said, his smile reassuring. Mia felt a small shiver, not from fear, but from the sudden awareness of being fully present in a quiet, shared space as the night deepened. They began to share stories from their past childhood memories, moments that had shaped them, small regrets and joys alike. Mia laughed at a story from Mark's teenage years, a tale of a misadventure at a summer camp. And Mark chuckled at one of her embarrassing childhood memories. The room was filled with a soft warmth, the kind that comes from shared vulnerability and trust. At one point, Mia noticed how easy it felt to talk with him, how natural it was to share thoughts she usually kept to herself. There was a sense of emotional intimacy, not physical, but profound nonetheless. It reminded her of the importance of connection, of being heard and understood. Mark leaned back in his chair, sipping his tea, and said thoughtfully, "You know, it's rare to meet someone who listens the way you do. It makes conversations different, better." Mia's heart lifted at his words. She realized that this evening wasn't about romance or attraction, it was about emotional resonance. For someone to recognize her presence, her thoughts, and her feelings in such a genuine way was unexpectedly moving. She smiled, feeling gratitude for the unexpected comfort of his company. They spent hours in quiet conversation, sometimes interrupted by laughter, sometimes by silence that felt entirely natural. Mia noticed how little the clock seemed to matter, how time could stretch pleasantly when shared with someone who truly engaged with her mind and heart. Eventually, Mark glanced at his watch and realized how late it had become. "I should probably head home soon," he said gently. Mia nodded, though she felt a pang of reluctance to end the warmth of connection that had grown throughout the evening. "I really appreciate you stopping by," Mia said sincerely. "I didn't realize how much I needed someone to talk to tonight." Mark smiled, a quiet understanding in his gaze. "I'm glad I came. Sometimes it's the small, unexpected moments that mean the most." Before leaving, he helped Mia tidy the teacups and straighten the living room, their movements comfortable and cooperative. When the door finally closed behind him, Mia felt a strange mix of contentment and lingering thoughtfulness. The evening had been simple, yet profoundly impactful. She realized how rare it was to encounter such genuine understanding and companionship in everyday life. Mia sat by the window for a while, reflecting on the night. She watched the shadows of trees swaying in the moonlight, and she felt a subtle shift inside her. It wasn't about romantic desire. It was about emotional connection, the kind that nurtures the soul. She understood in a new way that intimacy could exist without romance. That trust and understanding could be as powerful as any love story she had read in books. Before going to bed, she made a quiet note to herself to cherish the people who truly see her, to nurture friendships, and to remain open to unexpected moments of human connection. Tonight had reminded her of that essential truth, and as she lay down to sleep, she felt a gentle calm wash over her. The house, filled with its quiet creaks and soft shadows, no longer felt empty. It felt alive, full of possibilities and the promise that sometimes the most meaningful experiences come when you least expect them. Mia closed her eyes with a small, hopeful smile, not knowing what the future held, but certain of one thing: she had learned the true value of connection, and that lesson would stay with her far longer than the night itself. The next morning, Mia woke with a sense of quiet anticipation. The previous evening had left her mind buzzing not in a restless way, but with a newfound awareness of connection and the subtle warmth of trust. She moved through the house with careful steps, noticing small details she had overlooked before: the sunlight catching the edges of the curtains, the soft creak of the floorboards, and the lingering aroma of the tea she and Mark had shared. Breakfast was a quiet affair. Mia made coffee and toast, her mind replaying snippets of last night's conversation. She smiled at the memory of Mark's laughter, at the way he had listened so patiently, genuinely interested in her thoughts. It was unusual, she realized, for someone to treat her feelings with such care. She thought about how rare it was to find a friend who could offer that kind of emotional closeness without expectation, without pressure. Around mid-morning, the doorbell rang, breaking her reverie. She opened the door to find Mark standing there with a small basket of fresh pastries. "Thought you might like a little something for breakfast," he said, smiling warmly. His presence was reassuring, and Mia felt a flutter of gratitude. She invited him in, and together they moved into the kitchen. The conversation began lightly, as if picking up where they had left off, but soon it turned toward deeper topics. Mia found herself sharing her doubts about her own confidence, the uncertainty of blending into a new family, and her desire to feel truly understood. Mark listened intently, never interrupting, never judging. His presence was a grounding force, and Mia felt her own insecurities soften in response to his understanding as they spoke. The atmosphere in the room shifted subtly. It was a kind of intimacy built not on romance but on empathy, trust, and shared vulnerability. Mia realized that she had been craving connection more than she had admitted to herself. She laughed softly at one of Mark's observations about the unpredictability of life and felt a sense of lightness she hadn't experienced in months. The morning passed quickly. They worked together to clean up the kitchen, sharing easy banter and small jokes. There was a rhythm to their movements, an unspoken understanding that made everything feel natural. Mia noticed how much she enjoyed simply being seen and appreciated, not for appearances or obligations, but for who she was. Around noon, Mark suggested taking a short walk outside. The air was crisp, the sun bright against the autumn leaves. They walked through the neighborhood, observing the quiet beauty of familiar streets and seasonal changes. Mia felt herself opening up even more, recounting stories from her own childhood, small regrets, and cherished memories. Mark shared similar anecdotes from his life, painting a picture of a man who had faced challenges yet retained a gentle, thoughtful outlook. During the walk, Mia realized that her connection with Mark went beyond casual friendship. It wasn't romantic in the traditional sense. There was no physical desire or inappropriate attraction, but it carried a deep emotional resonance. She felt a sense of safety, of being understood, and of being allowed to express her true self without fear of judgment. When they returned to the house, Mia suggested they sit in the living room. The light filtering through the windows gave the room a warm glow, making the space feel inviting and calm. They continued their conversation, now exploring topics like personal dreams, unspoken fears, and the small victories that often went unnoticed. Mia felt her heart swell with gratitude. She had not expected to find someone who would offer such an attentive, unwavering presence. At one point, Mark noticed a photo on the mantel, a picture of Mia and Daniel at a family gathering. He remarked, "You two always seem so happy together. It's nice to see that kind of bond." Mia felt a pang of emotion, a mixture of pride, love, and subtle longing. Her heart was tied to her husband, yet she couldn't deny the comfort she found in Mark's company. They spent the afternoon in a gentle routine, sharing tea, tidying the living room, and listening to music quietly in the background. Each small action felt charged with meaning because of the awareness and attentiveness between them. Mia reflected on how human connection could feel profoundly intimate without crossing any boundaries. It was a lesson in emotional depth, in finding beauty in companionship and understanding. As the day progressed, Mia received a message from Daniel, letting her know he would be home later than expected. She felt a mixture of relief and tension. The house was theirs for a few more hours of quiet, uninterrupted interaction. They decided to watch an old movie together, sitting side by side on the couch. The room was dim, lit only by the glow of the television and the fading daylight outside. They laughed at familiar scenes, commented on the performances, and enjoyed the comfort of shared silence in between. During a particularly touching scene, Mia felt a lump in her throat, overcome by the emotions stirred by the story unfolding on screen. She looked at Mark, who noticed her reaction and gave a small, understanding smile. There was no conversation necessary. The connection was mutual, silent, and profoundly reassuring. Mia realized that the evening before had been just the beginning, the start of a bond built on respect, empathy, and shared humanity. After the movie, they moved to the kitchen to make a light snack. Mia prepared sandwiches while Mark set the table. The easy cooperation reminded her how natural it felt to work alongside someone who genuinely cared about her well-being. Their conversation continued, now touching on future aspirations and personal challenges they each faced. Mark's insights were thoughtful, never imposing, and Mia felt herself inspired by his calm perspective as the sun began to set, painting the room in shades of gold and amber. Mia noticed a subtle change in her own feelings. She wasn't experiencing romance or longing in the inappropriate sense. Rather, she was experiencing the profound comfort of connection and the kind of emotional support that often goes unnoticed in everyday life. It was a rare gift, and she cherished it silently. Mark, sensing the quiet shift in the atmosphere, suggested they take a brief pause outside to enjoy the sunset. They stepped into the backyard where the air was cooler but the sky burned with color. Mia felt a sense of awe, watching the sky transform. Feeling grateful for this unexpected evening of presence and understanding, it was a reminder that meaningful moments often came from simple gestures, sharing time, listening with intent, and offering sincere companionship. Returning indoors, they decided to review some photo albums Mia had recently compiled. Each picture brought a story, a memory, a laugh. They reminisced, teased, and reflected on life's twists and turns. Mia felt herself relaxing completely, noticing how safe and supported she felt in Mark's company. She marveled at the fact that trust and emotional intimacy could be so profound without any physical romance. Evening drew near, and they prepared a small dinner together, continuing the easy rhythm of shared tasks and mutual respect. Mia was struck by how much the day had shifted her perception of connection. She realized that intimacy was multifaceted and that emotional bonds could be as powerful as any traditional, romantic, or familial tie. When dinner was ready, they ate together quietly, enjoying both the food and the comfort of presence. Mia reflected on her gratitude for the day, for the gentle understanding Mark had offered, and for the simple joy of companionship without complication or expectation. After cleaning up, Mark glanced at the clock. "It's getting late," he said. "I should probably head home soon." Mia nodded, though she felt a small tug of reluctance. The day had been unexpectedly transformative, leaving her with a sense of warmth and reflection she hadn't anticipated. "I thank you, Mark," Mia said sincerely. "Today has been really special. I didn't realize how much I needed this kind of connection." Mark smiled, a quiet reassurance in his gaze. "I'm glad. Sometimes the simplest days can mean the most." As he left, Mia watched him walk down the driveway, feeling a mixture of calm and thoughtfulness. The day had been ordinary in many ways, yet extraordinary in the quiet, emotional impact it had left on her. She understood that connection and understanding were gifts, and that moments like these could transform how one experienced the world, once alone. Mia sat by the window, letting the evening settle around her. She reflected on the events of the day, the laughter, the stories, the shared moments, and realized how profoundly meaningful they had been. The day had taught her that intimacy and trust could exist in simple, safe, and profound ways. Before bed, Mia made a small note to herself to cherish human connection, to nurture trust, and to remain open to unexpected moments of emotional resonance. She understood that life often offered lessons in the quietest, simplest forms, and today had been a testament to that truth. Lying down that night, Mia felt a calmness she had rarely experienced. The house, with its soft creaks and shadows, felt alive and comforting. She knew that the day had changed something within her, opening her heart to the subtle power of empathy, understanding, and shared humanity. And as she drifted off to sleep, she carried with her the knowledge that meaningful connection could come in the most unexpected forms, sometimes transforming ordinary life into something extraordinary. The next morning, Mia awoke to the quiet hum of the house, sunlight spilling softly through the curtains. She stretched and took a deep breath, still feeling the warmth of the previous day lingering in her chest. The events with Mark had shifted. Something inside her a newfound appreciation for trust, connection, and the power of simple, meaningful companionship. She moved through her morning routine with a sense of calm, clarity that had been missing for weeks. Breakfast was a quiet, reflective time. Mia prepared her coffee and glanced out the window, noting the crispness in the air, the gentle rustle of leaves, and the golden glow that marked the start of a new day. She thought about Mark and the way he had listened yesterday, how his presence had offered comfort without expectation. It was rare, she realized, to find someone who could hold space for another person so openly and honestly. She smiled faintly at the thought, feeling grateful for the subtle yet profound impact of his companionship. Mid-morning arrived, and Mia busied herself with chores around the house, folding laundry, tidying the living room, and organizing the kitchen. She found her mind returning again and again to thoughts of Mark, not in a romantic or inappropriate way, but in the sense of deep emotional resonance. She realized how much she had craved this kind of understanding, the reassurance of being truly seen. Her heart felt lighter, her mind clearer, and her day carried a quiet, fulfilling rhythm. Suddenly, a knock on the door broke her reverie. It was Mark, holding a small notebook in his hands. "I thought you might like this," he said, offering it with a shy smile. Inside were sketches and notes he had compiled, small reflections on life, ideas for projects, and simple reminders to enjoy the little moments. Mia accepted it, touched by the gesture. "Thank you, Mark. This means a lot," she said sincerely. The notebook felt like a symbol of the bond they were quietly building, a tangible reminder of connection and shared thoughtfulness. They moved to the living room, sitting across from each other, flipping through the pages together. Mark explained some of the entries, his words revealing a depth of thought and a gentle, reflective nature. Mia listened, fascinated by his insights, and found herself sharing her own reflections in return. There was no pressure, no urgency, only the quiet, profound exchange of ideas and feelings. She realized that emotional intimacy could be as impactful, if not more, than any traditional form of closeness. As the morning flowed into early afternoon, Mia suggested they take a short walk to the nearby park. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of autumn leaves and freshly cut grass. They walked side by side, occasionally pausing to admire the scenery, sharing stories from their past, and reflecting on small moments that had shaped their lives. The conversation was effortless, moving between light humor and deeper reflections. Mia felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in a long time, a reassurance that meaningful human connection didn't require anything more than presence, empathy, and attentiveness. During the walk, Mia noticed the way Mark seemed genuinely interested in the little details of her life. He asked thoughtful questions, listened without interruption, and offered reflections that encouraged her to see things in a new light. She realized that this kind of support was rare, the kind that nurtures growth, confidence, and emotional resilience. She felt a swell of gratitude, knowing that she had found someone who could offer this without judgment or expectation. Back at the house, they spent the afternoon in quiet companionship. Mia suggested they review some family photos she had recently organized, and together they laughed, reminisced, and reflected on cherished memories. Mark offered insights into her stories, drawing connections that Mia had never considered. It was a gentle, almost meditative experience, highlighting the depth of understanding that could exist between two people who truly listened to each other. As evening approached, the sun began to cast long shadows across the room, painting everything in warm hues. Mia realized how much the day had shifted her perspective. It wasn't about excitement or thrill, it was about stability, trust, and the quiet joy of being genuinely understood. She felt her own anxieties and insecurities soften in response to the calm, patient presence of Mark. He had shown her that connection could be safe, meaningful, and profoundly satisfying without any need for physical intimacy, Mark suggested, preparing dinner together, and the activity became another moment of shared collaboration. They chopped vegetables, stirred sauces, and shared stories as they worked. The kitchen was filled with the comforting sounds of domesticity, water bubbling, utensils clinking, the soft hum of conversation. Mia found herself appreciating the ordinary nature of these moments, realizing that ordinary days could become extraordinary when shared with someone who cared. During dinner, they talked about aspirations and personal goals, dreams they had quietly harbored. Mark listened as Mia spoke about her hopes for family, career, and personal growth. He offered encouragement and thoughtful advice, not in a controlling or a overbearing way, but in a manner that made her feel empowered and supported. Mia felt a deep sense of gratitude, recognizing how rare it was to find someone who could provide this level of emotional resonance. After dinner, he moved to the living room for a final cup of tea. The room was quiet except for the low hum of evening traffic outside. They reflected on the day, sharing thoughts and feelings that had emerged. Mia felt an overwhelming sense of clarity, understanding the value of trust, connection, and the subtle power of simply being present for another person. She realized that Mark had given her something intangible but invaluable, the reassurance that human connection could heal, inspire, and nurture in ways she hadn't anticipated. As night fell, Mark glanced at the clock and said he should head home. Mia walked him to the door, feeling a sense of bittersweet contentment. "Thank you for today," she said. "It's been truly meaningful." Mark nodded, smiling warmly. "I'm glad, Mia. Moments like this are rare. Remember, it's the small, genuine connections that matter most." He left, and Mia watched him walk down the driveway, the quiet evening wrapping around her. She felt a sense of closure for the day, yet also an understanding that the bond they had formed would continue to influence her life in subtle, positive ways. The trust, empathy, and emotional resonance she had experienced would remain with her, shaping how she approached relationships and connections moving forward. Alone, Mia returned to the living room, sitting by the window as the moonlight cast soft shadows across the room. She reflected on the day, the laughter, the quiet conversations, the shared experiences, and realized that these moments had taught her about the power of emotional intimacy. It wasn't about drama or excitement. It was about understanding, support, and the quiet magic of human connection. Before heading to bed, Mia made a mental note to nurture these kinds of relationships, to value trust and understanding, and to remain open to unexpected forms of companionship. She recognized that life's most profound lessons often came in ordinary moments and shared experiences, and in the simple act of listening and being present. Lying down, Mia felt a calmness she hadn't known before. Her heart was full, her mind at ease, and she understood the subtle but transformative power of human connection. She knew that the day with Mark had been a gift, a reminder that intimacy could exist in emotional forms, that trust and empathy could change lives, and that meaningful relationships often appear in the most unexpected ways. As she drifted off to sleep, Mia felt gratitude and hope. She understood that her life had shifted not through extraordinary events, but through the quiet, thoughtful attention of someone who had offered her understanding, companionship, and care. The day had shown her that real connection didn't need to be flashy or dramatic. It thrived in small gestures, shared moments, and the mutual respect and empathy between two people in the stillness of the night. Mia closed her eyes, carrying with her the lessons and the warmth of the day. She felt empowered, inspired, and deeply grateful for the emotional intimacy she had experienced. The bond with Mark had been transformative, leaving her with a renewed sense of clarity, emotional strength, and appreciation for the simple, profound beauty of human connection. And as the house settled into silence, Mia smiled softly, knowing that these moments of trust, understanding, and companionship would continue to guide her in the days to come.